Welcome, and thanks for joining me on the Ultimate 180 podcast. If you have ever felt exhausted, overwhelmed, or even trapped in your own life and wish you were able to have a complete life makeover, well, you are in the perfect place to learn how to pull an Ultimate 180 and change your life beyond all expectations. I'm your host, Christina Walker, and today I'm going to walk through those moments when you want to create something different in your life, you want to change, but you have no idea what to do next. This can be so frustrating and very exhausting. And I'm going to share with you my favorite SNAP method that I use to navigate these pivotal moments in my own life. Because if you don't know what to do in these moments, you might not actually make it through year 180. Let's get started as we navigate change together, 1 degree at a time. Let's do this. Confusion. It can bring your transformation to a halt. It's exhausting, it's frustrating, and it can actually keep you from ever even starting a change. It's a complete dream killer. So, what are we supposed to do when we don't know what to do? That's why I came up with the SNAP technique, SNAP. And it stands for these 4 steps: stop spinning, new focus, action, and patience. So let's start with that first one, stop spinning. You need to stop spinning in your head, which means you need to stop trying to figure it out. I know that seems completely counterintuitive to everything we've ever been taught about getting ahead in life. But this confusion is actually a signal to yourself that you are ready to go in a new direction that your brain just isn't equipped to figure out quite yet. You may not know what you want to do next, but that's actually a good thing. So what that means is right now, the solution to you moving forward is just outside of your current experiences up until this point in life. And taking actions beyond what you can come up with right now is the only way to create change that leads you to completely new life experience, especially if you're trying to create a life like a dream life, like your 180. And it's by going down a path we can't come up with in our head in this moment in time that's going to get you there. Because if you could do that, if you knew what to do and where to go, you would have already set that path in motion. And I know you may be thinking, and this is a good thing. This is actually a great thing because it means you are ready for growth. So if you can accept these moments first as something good, it's going to allow your brain to relax enough to see beyond our current situation. And that is key. So we're going to stop trying to figure it out, right? Stop spinning. Second, we are going to get a new focus. And for new focus, we need to change our focus on something that sounds enjoyable, but is completely unrelated to the problem that you're trying to solve. And I know that sounds very weird. And this whole concept probably sounds very strange because it is like opposite land of what you hear. So stick with me a minute because I'm going to give you a couple of examples. But I want to tell you the third one, a action, is because you're going to take action, lots of little steps, lots of little actions. I like that. We talked about that before, MDCs. And you're going to take lots of little actions on this new focus. So let me give you a couple examples at this point so that you'll understand why this works and then how this applies to something like a massive change, a life change. So if you think about it, let's say you're sitting at your desk and you're trying to get this email out. Those times where it's just not coming together. It's a really important email and you've been sitting there for way too long and you have like 2 sentences. And you're like, what is going on? And it's frustrating. And so usually what we do, the smart thing to do, and I know you've done it, is you back away from your desk and you change the scenery for a minute, right? A lot of us know that, right? You back up, you're like, okay, I need a moment. I need to get away from my desk. I need to get away from this email and just change the focus. Now, if you go do something enjoyable, let's say you text a friend, you go out to lunch, you have a good conversation, you have this radar, right? Your brain is like this radar. It's still trying to solve that problem in the background. But meanwhile, when you go and do something enjoyable, something different, it opens up your brain to focus on something completely different. If you're sitting in front of your desk and you're just focused on that one thing that's making you frustrated over and over and over, then that's why you can't get out of it. You're just stuck in that motion of just, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I can't figure this out. When we get away from that, especially when we do something fun, and the reason I say when you do something enjoyable is because it lightens the mood, because frustration kind of cuts off you figuring things out. And so when you open up and you do something enjoyable, even if it's not like, yay, fun, but it's something, right? Even if you, especially if you get a laugh, right? It just takes you out of that moment. And your radar, that brain of yours, is sitting in the background, still trying to figure it out. But meanwhile, you're opening yourself up and exposing yourself up to a completely new situation. And that's where creativity kicks in. And you start to listen and hear more into the world. And that's where your brain starts to draw upon to figure this out. Okay. And so you are expanding your knowledge base at that point. And that way, when you know how it is, you sit back down an hour later, you go to this email, you knock it out, and you're like, I don't know what my problem was. I literally just figured it out. That's why. So, how do we use this into something massive, like a life change, when you just don't know what to do next? Well, I'm going to tell you a little about my 180 when that really kicked into gear, because I had figured out my snap technique and used it with other people, but for some reason I forgot to use it on myself. So I've been in one-on-one client coaching for years, for financials, there for helping people make money. So I've been coaching and consulting for about 20 years. And at some point, about 5 years ago, I wasn't enjoying it as much as I used to. And this is pre-COVID even. And then, of course, COVID happened. So you're like, now what do I do? I wasn't sure what to do with my business so that it made it more enjoyable for me. I loved my clients. There was a portion of my business that I loved, but I just needed to do something different. And I'm telling you, I tried all sorts of different things, everything I could think of on my own. I mean, it's not like I didn't have conversations with other people. I did constantly. And it was like, I just couldn't figure it out. So one day I had a suggestion from a coach of mine that said, hey, you should do a podcast. It kind of fits all the things that you like to do. And I was like, yeah, I mean, that sounds like me, but like, doing it on what? And by this point, I honestly was going to shut down my business. Like, I was getting super disgruntled with life. I'm like, I don't know, don't want to do this anymore. I don't feel like I'm able to help enough people. It's boring, all sorts of things. And at that point, I was pretty much Zooming with all my clients after COVID. And I don't know, I wasn't loving it anymore. And so I'm like, I'm going to have to do something completely different. And I'm thinking, I don't know. So you said podcast. I don't know what I would do in my current business podcasting, because that doesn't even make sense to my current brain. Even though I've got an MBA, I also have a degree in fashion. So I thought, well, maybe I should just, cut out what am my, financial coaching and my business coaching and everything, and just call it a day and go in the fashion industry. But I don't want to do retail. It's just not my gig. I don't want that schedule. What am I going to do? What could I podcast about? So I sat there and I was reeling and reeling, and I was like, no. Let's remember the snap technique. So I decided I was going to stop thinking about it, stop spending my time just trying to figure it out in my own head, because I remembered there is absolutely no way I can figure it out from my current position. It's just not going to happen, because if I did, I would have already figured it out. So I needed to do something new. So I started and I remembered, okay, fashion's fun. What did I like about it? Well, I actually like sewing. So I was baby steps, little tiny actions towards something enjoyable. So I thought, I'm going to join a couple of these paid online groups that talk about couture fashion and sewing tips and whatever. And it started me down this road. And I picked up different things different hobbies that I had had in the past. And I kind of just started playing with them, right? What felt good? This is fun, for zero reason other than to make it enjoyable. And the other thing is that I would allow myself to have the time to do it, instead of me sitting in front of a desk going, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? Because in my world, when you sit in your desk and you work, like, that's productive, right? Except in this case, it's completely counterproductive. So instead, in those moments, I would walk away and I would say, you know what? I'm going to give you permission right now to go do something enjoyable, just because. So whether it's, for you, maybe it's taking a golf lesson or going out and hitting balls, or I know I have a lot of golf analogies. That comes from my husband. So, but it's true. It doesn't, for you, it's something individual. Some people might say, I'm going to go play a video game. People say, I might go take a hike. Maybe I need a little mini vacay, whatever it is, to start finding those things that you like to do again. And maybe you have a ton of things that you like to do. So give yourself permission during those moments where you start to think, oh no, what am I going to do? Stop yourself, right? Stop the spinning and go do something enjoyable. I don't even care if it's for 5 minutes, 15 minutes, half hour, whatever it is. I mean, if you get to do it the rest of the day, good for you. But take those moments where you're spinning and go and do something enjoyable new, because that, again, your radar is still there. Your brain is still working on the solution. It just hasn't figured out the next yet, because you're still in your head, you're still in your bubble, and it can't move past the bubble when you're thinking about it. So I started to expand and do all of these things just because, and literally one day I figured it out. And the ultimate 180 came to mind. And I knew what it was about. Now, that doesn't mean that my next step came super easy. I had to do it again. I had to keep doing it. And that's why number 4 is patience. This is going to take a while. I mean, for some people, maybe it'll take a week, a month. That would, lucky you. But this might take a while. And we have to really be okay with that. And we have to come to terms with, you know what? It took me this long to get to this place. It's not going to have to take me that long to get to my next spot. But if I don't take this time right now, I won't ever get there. And honestly, you got to think about it like this. If you push for that next move, if you push for that next step and you just try it, you keep pushing and pushing and pushing, you're going to go in a direction that you already know in your brain. And you're going to end up right back where you were before. So it's really important that you understand. I know this sounds crazy. I know this might even sound like the opposite of everything you've learned from every guru out there of how to make a plan for success and go get it. But I'm telling you, your brain right now does not understand what to do next, because you haven't let it time to expand and let that radar keep going when you're doing something exciting. Because you know what? That is the key. Your next thing that you want to do, don't you want it to be enjoyable? So you got to let yourself be in that state of mind of enjoyment and let that idea in. it's going to come from all these things that you're just kind of seeing in your periphery that you might not even be really catching in your conscious, but your unconscious is catching a whole lot of stuff. And because you're doing something new, it's got that radar is constantly on, and you are going to figure it out. It's going to come to you and it's going to hit you. And then when you get to that next step and you don't know what to do, just back it off, right? You got to snap. And I wish it were happening like that fast in the end, like as fast as snap. But what you need to do is you need to catch yourself in that snap. And then that's when it's all going to start happening for you. So I want to thank you so much for joining me today. If you'd like more information on how to incorporate these tips into your ultimate 180 experience, join my VIP list on my website, ultimate180.com. You can catch all my podcasts there on Apple, Spotify, wherever you catch your shows.